Hey everybody, it's James here from NeuralNet Games, and today this is item discussion video number 8. We're talking about Prosperity 3 head and hand slots, and today we've got one of the best items in the entire game. I love it. I'm not going to spoiler anything yet. I will give some spoiler time before I get into the first one, and I just wanted to talk about something too. So I generally tend to stay away from talking about how items interact with unlockable classes. However, we're getting up into higher prosperity levels now. So it starts to make more sense to maybe at least talk about them a little bit, because statistically, as people get higher in prosperity level, they've played the game more and they've unlocked some of the classes. It becomes a bit difficult because, of the unlock order is a bit random, right? But let me know down in the comments if that's something you want me to start at least trying to work in some of, the most obvious combos with certain classes with these, items as we get into higher prosperity levels. As well, I'm actually ranking items by prosperity. I'll put a link down in the description, at least to prosperity 1. I've done like a tier ranking where it shows you which are the most powerful items just for prosperity 1. I think that should be interesting as well. And let's get started. Let's get to the first item. Okay, so we're talking about the Amulet of Life. And before I get to the Amulet of Life, do I sound like Will Forte? I am getting an increasing number of comments telling me that I sound and act like Will Forte, and I am just curious if anybody else, if you think that too, make sure and comment below. So the Amulet of Life, it's just not that good. There's way too much competition for the head slot. I mean, heal 1 each time. It can be good if you've got like a 2-player party and you don't have a lot of healing. Very useful to get rid of wound and poison and things like that. But it's just, the effect is quite weak. If you're using it with a, like a moon earring, which is going to be in the second part of this Prosperity 3 series, right? It's going to be the second video I do. Moon earring can help you get that back. So if you're running like a long rest build where you have just a bunch of spend items, it can be okay. I don't want to say it can be okay. Probably you should not use it except in very specific circumstances and in very specific party compositions. Generally, there's going to be so many better things, like compared to the Eagle Eye Goggles. It's not even close. Adding advantage and just crushing out damage with the Eagle Eye Goggles is better. Although I do think this is as good as the Iron Helm. Iron Helm is not that good. Make sure and check out my Prosperity 1 tier ranking. I go into the math behind why the Iron Helm sucks in my opinion, pretty much. And I don't know. It feels like it's a bit of a controversial opinion, but the way I math it out, I can't figure it out any other way. Make sure you check it out in that video. Let's move on to the next. Okay, next we have the Jagged Sword, and it is also not very good. Prosperity 3 is starting out kind of disappointing, but it's going to get a lot better really soon. Why is it not that good? Well, it just doesn't add up to that much damage overall. Wounding is pretty equivalent to poison, but this thing is 30 gold. It's so overpriced for what it does. The poison dagger is 10 gold for poison, and this is wound. Wound is not 3 times as good. If this thing was around 10 gold or something like that, then it would probably be worth it, but cost to effectiveness ratio is just not very good. The one time I can think of this actually being okay is if you're running a 2-player game and you've got like Mind Thief and Brute, and Mind Thief is crowd controlling and attacking a reasonable amount, then you can add some damage so that, you can wound monsters and crowd control them. Like if you've got a lot of crowd control, wound can really help you, because generally when you crowd control, you don't do a lot of damage. And so it's more of a delaying tactic. So you need to be crowd controlling and doing damage, and wound does solve some of that for you. So in those very specific instances, it's not too bad. But overall, the power curve is just not good enough on these. Generally, you're not going to want to spend 30 gold for this effect. And Opportunity Slot, it takes up 1 of 2 hands. So, really, there's going to be a lot better effects. Like, if we compare to the next item, spoiler alert, it's going to be the Long Spear, and it's friggin' crazy. You can add 5, 8, 10 damage per attack sometimes with the Long Spear, especially with the right classes that have like hard hitting single melee attacks. Compare that to the Wound. You can wound once per rest cycle, or maybe a little bit more if you use the Moon Earring and you do fancy things like that. And there's a couple classes that can refresh spent items, and if you have those, then it can be used more often. But the damage output, like let's say for easy math, you can use them each once per rest cycle. You use the Jagged Sword once per rest cycle, and you use the Long Spear. Jagged Sword is at most going to do 2 damage average per time you use it. You're never going to let monsters just wander around for like a ton of turns or something's gone wrong. Anyways, you're going to get 2 damage per rest cycle. If you attack with the Long Spear of your rest cycle, sometimes you're getting 5, 8, 10 damage every single time. It's easily going to be 2 to 3 times better than the Jagged Sword. So even though it takes 2 hands, it's going to be much better. Most of the time, don't take it is what I'm saying. And it doesn't scale. I shouldn't say that. It actually scales fine. It's a weak effect that pretty much stays close to as good, even though monsters have more hit points. So it's not perfect, but Wound is always going to be effective against shielded monsters. That's the scaling part that works. I got this. I promise. Finally, we've got the Long Spear, and the Long Spear is one of the best items in the entire game. Being able to add an extra target multiple times is, like I said before in the Jagged Sword part where I went on far too long, you're going to be able to add ridiculous amounts of damage. If you build yourself to long rest with this thing, you're going to be a wrecking machine. And then, get that Moon Earring so you can refresh it more often. You basically play a spend build. It's really nice because classes that want to use this, like melee attackers with single target melees, they usually want to use armor too. And armor is pretty much all spend. And so you can stack this really nicely with armor and other stuff like that so that you can refresh it all every time you long rest or when you use that Moon Earring. And it just adds up so fast. The shop, like, you would easily pay 50 gold for this thing. Like, this is a very inexperienced shopkeeper who does not understand supply and demand, because the demand is high on this. Like, literally 50 gold, you'd still just be happy to, yep, here you go, take my 50 gold for this effect. I mean, it's drastically better than most other items, especially for Prosperity 3. You're getting it pretty early. It probably could have been moved up further in Prosperity. And just remember, even though it's just for a single attack, if you do have a multi-target attack, you can't use it to affect one of the actions. And also remember that if a monster has Retaliate, this is an easy way, because this is an easy way for you to attack at range, because functionally it gives you range too. Don't do that too often though, because the real power in this item is being able to, double the output of a single attack, like double the damage of it. So if you have to use it for just the 2 range to attack like a strong retaliating monster, that's cool. I mean, that's part of what makes it good too, but it's, this much versus this much for just dishing out ridiculous. Oh, it's like this. Why am I doing a sword motion? What's wrong with me? Like this. Why am I doing this? Oh my God, why am I doing this? Thank God this is the end of the video, and a lot of people won't see this because they don't make it to the end. Anyways, that's it. Long Spear kicks ass. It's one of the best items in the game. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Stick around for next, and make sure and comment below on your thoughts on anything that you want to comment on. Thanks so much for watching the video. Special thank you to my subscribers and to my patrons. I couldn't do it without you. I haven't eaten this morning. I think I'm getting giddy.